Alright, here we go again. Next cop watching video commentary is by his channel called Accountability for All. This was streamed live on August 31st, 2019 during the Striaght Pride Parade in Boston. The video is called Striaght Pride Audit, and I will give you a link to it in the description. Let me set this up for you a little bit. As you may be able to see from the video here, I'm about 10 minutes into his video, okay? And the main point of this one is showing an example of someone who's being too, what's the word I want to use? Too emotional. He's not letting the most effective means of convincing any independent viewers that his position is the most correct and just and, well, just right, ethically right position. Because he's allowing his emotions to get the better of him. Now, he doesn't get too far out of control with it, but this video has a lot of good examples of what not to do. To set this up in some context, if you watch the first 10 minutes of this video, this guy, in my estimation, took way too much risk. Sure, it took bravery to do what he did, which is he got in a crowd of Antifa supporters, and he was surrounded. Like, I saw one guy there stick up for him, maybe one friend he had that was kind of pulling security, but he was surrounded 360 degrees by an angry mob, people with their faces masked, right, men and women. Somebody could have easily, people were putting their middle finger right in his face, man. I do not let people get that close to me, especially if they're expressing that kind of anger. It's not safe at all. I think what he did was foolish and way too risky. He could have been hit with a bike lock, a sucker punch, a punch in the stomach, and then somebody else runs away, and you can't see who it was because they just disappear in the crowd. There were no cops around, not that you should ever rely on cops for your security, but cops prevent other people from doing bullshit violence, obviously, at least at times. Unless the crowd knows the cops secretly support them, of course. So he had just gone through that, and so he was emotionally charged from, the uncertainty of maybe being assaulted at any given second because he put himself in that overly risky situation. And now, as you'll see in this video, he is standing on some kind of platform, talking to the angry left liberal Antifa mob, which is, he's separated by them by cops on bikes, okay? So I'm just gonna let it fly and then, pause commentary how I do. Here we go.
If you're not on their side, they'll corner you, they'll assault you, they'll oppress you, they'll try and violate your rights, and that's the...
Now, he's talking about the left, the crowd that basically a loudspeaker, a bullhorn right in his face, somebody's beating on a drum, they want to get the hell out of here, get out of here, of course they want to shut him up. They're not about free speech whatsoever, they call that hate speech, and because they know they can't verbally stand up to people who are calling out their nonsense and their violence, their acceptable violence, they just don't want it to come out into the airwaves at all. Which is something only bullshitters do, by the way. Side note, if you're standing on the side of actual reality, like the truth and logic and ethics, you don't mind the other side talking at all. Because you know they're wrong, their claims are only going to make them look worse because you're going to be able to use the Socratic method to clarify their nonsense and compare it to, is this consistent, is this ethical, is this logical, is this credible? And because you know they're not going to be able to do that, man, go ahead, man, have the mic. Take it, talk all you want. That's what people who stand on truth are like. People who are trying to shut other people up are doing so because they know they can't withstand the verbal challenges being directed at them about what they say is true and correct about life or whatever, political positions or whatever. If you ever find yourself trying to shut someone up, you're in the wrong. Period. If they're in the wrong, let them talk, and they'll just be more and more and more wrong, which will make you more and more and more right. All right, enough said about that. So he's kind of like I get the impression he's kind of like a cock crowing, a rooster crowing, up on his pedestal here. And it just kind of, I don't know, it's not the image I would exactly want to send when you're kind of talking down to a crowd of people. I don't know. Those people aren't quite cops. They're I'll do that to cops because, they're violent, bribed thugs, right? But regular little people that just have a different political position than you, I don't know.
Gap that we can never bridge when people that are on the same side as yours try and oppress you because your rights are different than theirs. Your opinions are different than theirs.
So as you can see, there's the line of cops using their bike to separate these two crowds so the fighting doesn't start.
Well, you know what? That's why we're here.
Okay, the approach. So this cop on the left here is just approaching him. So, dude, now's your time to flip a switch. Okay, you want to be emotional and angry at a crowd that almost jumped you or threatened to? That's one thing. But when a cop comes and talks to you, now everything you say is going to be judged by your YouTube viewing, watching public. And you don't need to sing to the choir. The people who are already on your side are already on your side. And the people who are very much against you will probably always be against you. But it's that independent majority who haven't quite made up their mind about which side makes more sense and is actually being fair and just on this brand new thing called a Striaght Pride Parade in Boston. If you want to appeal to them and never mind grow your channel, then your behavior needs to flip a switch when cops talk to you. And he doesn't do a good enough example. Here we go.
Sir, you're causing... Film it, please. I am. You're causing a disturbance. Oh, are you saying I'm being disorderly? Please. It's free speech. Please. It's my right to peaceful protest. I'm talking to you like an adult. I'm talking to you like an adult right now. I'm not ready. You should be talking... Well, you know what? When I was getting cornered by 30 people and getting hit, you didn't do anything then.
Okay, so he's letting a resentment about the cops not showing up to protect him fuel this emotion and he's interrupting the police officer. You don't, quote-unquote police officer, right? Bribed security for the state. You don't need to interrupt somebody who's full of shit. Again, let them talk. All right, now if they're not going to let you get in a word edgewise and they're just making false claim after false claim and putting words in your mouth and trying to make you look bad, then, of course, interrupt them. But in this instance, no. Now, this quote-unquote cop is actually doing a decent job. He is composed. He's talking calmly, clearly, and he's not yelling. He's not threatening. He doesn't even look angry in his face. And that's the right way to go about things in tense situations. It's being cool under pressure, and the independent public watching this will side with the cop if you start yelling at him and saying a bunch of nonsense. Now, oh, it's free speech, it's free, I can do what I want. Okay, that may be, but you can make that point a lot more effectively by being calmer, right? It's not about giving him his due respect. It's not about, bowing down to police authority. That's not what it's about at all. We don't bow down to shit with these thugs. It's about convincing the sheep and the cowards. The public, unfortunately, that's the world the way it is. Don't shoot the messenger. The power is with the average John Q. tax-paying public. And if they're not on your side, you're not going to have any power. And if the authority and the government thinks a jury won't be on your side, they're way more likely to fuck with you, i.e. arrest. Heads up.
Well, you know what? Here now doesn't matter to me.
Why are you yelling at me?
Be here then.
Why are you yelling at me?
Because you got a storm of people behind you that you can't do shit about, but you have a problem with my camera and my freedom.
I'm just trying to talk to you.
You know what? The conversation's about 5 minutes late.
Okay. Again, you're about 5 minutes late. This guy shouldn't have a resentment about the cops not being there to protect him. If you want to put yourself in dangerous, risky situations, you either need to shut up and stop complaining about your lack of security, or provide it on your own. And if you can't afford to do that, or don't have the friends or contacts to do that, too damn bad. Don't rely on daddy government to protect you. This cop is, again, doing a better job than the cop watcher here, by again remaining calm while he's being shouted at, and just saying, hey, why are you yelling at me? Why are you yelling at me? And then he gets the cop watcher to admit, basically, that he was, or is, with this silly resentment from 5 minutes ago. It's not looking good for cop watcher here.
Okay, well, we're having a conversation now. Stop yelling, please.
What's your name and badge number?
It's Messina, MESSINA, badge number is 926.
Your badge number? What's your name?
9021. Now listen to me. I'm trying to reason with you like an adult,
Again, cops are winning here. They're being reasonable, rational. He immediately gives a name and badge number. That looks good.
We're talking this.
Maybe you should do your job.
Okay, don't insult a cop who is actually treating you decently. If a cop is decent to you, you can still voice your opposition to their position and or behavior without insulting him. There's no need to insult a cop unless he does something that is worthy of it, like a cop who blatantly leans on his gun. He puts his hand on his gun and leans to the right as if he's just resting his hand on his gun. No, fuck you. Get your goddamn hand off your fucking gun, pork chop. Right? That's something insult worthy. Somebody who tases your buddy for zero reason whatsoever and goes into a fit, that's a time to insult them. Someone who comes along, you pull up on a traffic stop, and they're stealing someone's car just because they don't have the right documentation X on hand right now. They're committing grand theft auto. I've started insulting cops then, but always not with anger. No. You don't do it with anger. You do it with mockery, with laughter. I remember being with two other cop watchers, and they were trying to steal, they did steal this couple's car for bullshit. They didn't have a lot of money. It was really messing up their lives. And, I just started clowning the state trooper about his goofy Smokey the Bear hat and his, I'm awesome, tightly tucked in shirt. And how, I think I'm a badass in authority because I'm 25 and I've got a badge and a gun. And, mommy and daddy like me and I get more pussy and all this other stuff. I was just going off on him. To which, to his credit, he didn't say shit to me. Didn't even look at me. He just pretended like we weren't even there, which was great because we really got to rip into him. And it was funny. You got to make it funny, but only if they're committing a blatant act of violence and or theft or something like that. All right, so cops winning so far. Let's see what happens. I haven't watched this whole video.
I am trying to, you're not letting me speak.
Well, I don't see you doing your job. Where were you 5 minutes ago?
Again, he's repeating yourself. Don't ever repeat yourself. Human beings understand English when they're conversing in English. Don't repeat yourself. And again, this cop's being more than reasonable. This cop is being very reasonable. Rarely have I had a cop act this way toward me. So don't be a dick. We want to encourage cops to be this way instead of super aggressive, pissed off, bullying, threatening, and all that shit. I mean, I can deal with it, but not many of you out there listening can. So let's encourage cops to act decently.
I'm talking to you right now.
Well, then talk.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We'd like to get you because you're creating a disturbance and you're inciting the crowd.
Okay, now this is where the cop goes wrong. I would burn him, and the guy gives a shot, but whatever, it's alright. Absolutely, cops will do this and do this all the damn time when the situation arises. He knows that if he just shuts up the crowd with only 1 or 2 or 5 people in it, versus a angry mob of people who are okay with violence, his job gets a lot easier, and all of his cops are under less threat. They don't give a flying fuck what's right, or who's just, or who's violent or not. If it's 5 against 100, and it looks like there's going to be a fight, they are going to go to the 5 and be like, you're inciting violence and a riot, you're the problem maker here, I don't care about free speech, stop saying what you're saying, because these people are getting pissed, and I don't want our cops to have to break up a fight, and now it's my ass on the line because I'm going to be interrogated and questioned and, combed over with a fine-tooth comb just to make sure I handled this situation correctly. I don't want the pressure, I don't want the risk, so you shut up. Now, when he does that, now is the time you could really turn the tables and start to ask clarifying questions about what exactly is going on. Hey, I have footage from 10 minutes ago of this entire mob coming up to my face, invading my personal space, getting so close that our bodies were touching, having a middle finger right in front of my face, and I'm not doing anything upset to them at all. Do you want to see the video? He's going to say, no, I don't have time. That makes you look good. Fine. Okay, so you don't want to look at the factual evidence that these people are the threatening ones and I'm not. I'm sitting here standing and saying words. It's a Striaght Pride Parade. It's kind of like a rally. This is what happens here. Now, I understand if you're afraid to deal with a large mob that is being agitated by the truth that's coming out of my face, but that's your problem to deal with. If you don't like it, maybe you should find another job to do. This is not an easy job, and you don't get paid enough to deal with potentially, getting in fights on a weekly or monthly or yearly basis. All right, I get it. It's a lot of pressure. But just so you know, I'm calling you out for the fact that you are taking the easy way out by trying to get me to be quiet, forget protecting the First Amendment of free speech or the right to peaceably assemble, which is what we're doing here. I'm doing it anyway. And you're just taking the easy route out and trying to shut me up through coercive threats as you have as a cop with zip ties and guns and walkie-talkies and arrest warrants and records, right? With your elevated status in society, you're a first-class citizen, I'm a third-class citizen, we both know it. You're going to be believed in court because judges are all on your side. You're taking the easy way out here. Why don't you not do that? Why don't you try and settle this crowd down first before you try and come at me and totally disregard this oath you think is so sacred that you took to protect and defend this constitutional right against all enemies, foreign and here, domestic, right? I mean, I would get it, I don't know if I'm only spilling out the long version for you on this video, so you hear kind of the totality of my thoughts on it, but I wouldn't necessarily go into, the 2-minute rant version. I'd just kind of sum it up.
Inciting them. Yes. Oh, I'm inciting them. Well, I disagree.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to move you along.
Am I being trespassed?
You're on the public side.
So I'm in a public easement right now.
But what you're doing, is you're creating a disturbance.
No, see, here's why you're a coward.
You don't need to interrupt the cop just because he says something you don't like. All right, let him finish a thought. If you want him to extend the same courtesy of not interrupting you, which is highly useful when we're using words to defend ourselves, then don't interrupt him. He's not excessively grabbing a hold of the mic and going on for minutes and minutes and not letting you respond or get a word in edgewise, right? So is he full of shit? Yes. This guy isn't creating the disturbance. He's talking the truth about you should let people speak and not try to use threats of violence, you nasty mob, to shut me up with your coward-ass masks over your faces. All right? You should allow people free speech, and this is a public place, and we can do that.
Because there's more of them than there are of me. So you'd rather try and remove me than disperse them. Better yourself.
Better yourself? Don't virtue signal. All right? I mean, he says the truth, but dude, listen, if you just do it calmly, with a neutral face, without the emotion, you're going to have more power, which means you're going to be more effective. You're going to be seen as more confident and successful at what you do. They're going to take note that you very much control your emotions when the mob behind them very much does not and is not even capable of controlling their emotions. They're on the political side of the more charged the emotion is, the more right a person's opinion is. Screw factual evidence, screw facts, screw freedom or justice. It's all about I want to be a collectivist commie and take what gets stolen from you because I can't make it on my own.
Better yourself. Well, you know what? You saw me over there a minute ago. You didn't do shit about it. So close your mouth. Close your mouth. You're trying to oppress someone that's about civil rights. That's what you guys are about, right? Civil rights? Why don't you better yourself? Better yourself. Better yourself. What happened?
Yelling better yourself over and over and over again like this is an episode of Jerry Springer is not going to convince anyone, especially some leftist, socialist, Antifa type, uber feminist type, to change their ways. You're just squawking in the wind and not being effective whatsoever. You're not even convincing the independent people who are maybe watching your channel.
Once in high school you got beat up and this is the closest you can get to fame, huh? Guess
Okay, so this is just an attempt to insult him. It's not going anywhere.
what? Accountability.
I know. So we're trying to get you. Give him a big kiss. The cops say let him beat him. Start kissing.
Thank you.
This guy here is being calm, and he pointed out something that he thinks is wrong that parts of this angry mob crowd did. Being pretty calm, being pretty chill.
You're gonna get me in trouble.
This guy right here has got a camera with press, multiple cameras, and he couldn't be more chill. That dude's winning.
Look up the line. E-L-A-D.
No, there were 40 people surrounding me and pushing me. But now that I'm right here, you want to do something? Then go do something about it.
Give him a big kiss.
Well, how would you talk to me? Is there another language you speak? Because I'm upset because you're not doing your job.
Big kisses. Big kisses on the mouth. We like.
No, I'm not creating disturbance. They're creating disturbance. But you know what? You can't disperse them. But you can try and disperse me.
What you need to ask is this a request, or are you issuing a lawful order? Because if it's a request, you can decline it. If it's a lawful order, you might just go to jail, which over this isn't worth going to jail for, because you don't have jury power if they were to watch this video. That's what you want to know. You don't want to repeat yourself and interrupt him and try and insult their lack of them doing their job. Alright, you want to be clear on it. And especially when a cop takes a step toward you, which is a tactic of intimidation, obviously. First off, I would address that right off the bat. Take a step back and be like, dude, do not take a step forward toward me. You do not need to do that. It's completely unnecessary, and B, it doesn't intimidate me in the slightest. All you do is risk civilian safety when you do that. And right here and now, among this angry mob, might not be the most professional or timely place to do such an action. Would you agree? Right? And then ask, hey, is that a request, or are you going to threaten me with a violent arrest if I don't do it? Because I'll do it if you're going to threaten me with violence, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to decline your offer if it's a request. So which is it?
You're dismissed.
The cop turned around and was willing to let it go. You do not need to ego flex. You're dismissed. Okay? I mean, we do that as a joke. If you're not doing that as a joke, you look a fool. Because everyone knows if you want the cop arrested, that's not going to happen. If the cop wants you arrested, you're fucked. So let's not pretend it's any other way. I'm not saying they have power because of that, because I'll just use that against them too. I'm just saying that's reality of the situation, and everyone knows it. So to say you're dismissed and be angry about it is counterproductive to your aims, your goals of being a cop watcher, okay?
You're welcome.
Unless you're in it just to vent and get views, then I could see why this guy's doing this. If you just want to vent because you're upset and you want to feel better by scratching that itch, and you just want to get attention on YouTube, then by all means. But if you're serious about creating meaningful and as quick as possible, change, real change, then you've got to win over the opinions of sheep.
So how long have you hated civil rights?
And now he's picking a fight with the mob. Why are you doing that? What's the point? If you're gonna do it, either A, be sharp as fuck, like be Socrates himself with your very effective points, or B, be hilarious when you do it. Ideally be both, but that's extremely difficult. But be funny, but don't be yawn-worthy with your typical insults of going back and forth with them. You're not in control of your emotions right now. Your emotions are in control of you. And that is a dangerous place to be, especially around this type of a rally, especially with all these cops around. And when you're outnumbered to death, as you kind of found out there, right?
How long have you hated civil rights? Kisses on the mouth! 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 I don't know how I'm out-chanting all of them.
Kisses on the mouth. See, that guy's being funny. He gets laughs. Cops know this guy's in a threatening mood. He's certainly not one to like pick a fight. You know, if you're funny, you're not serious, you're not angry, you're not dangerous.
You got the loudest voice. I said kisses on the mouth!
Now, it would have been really funny if someone from the crowd started chanting, shave that beard, right? And, you know, like they would. Ha ha ha.
These are the guys that...
Look at this little stupid bitch. I'm gonna take a second to comment on bitches in the crowd, okay? These bitches wouldn't be shit without men around. Alright? Bitches do not get this aggressive whatsoever in a crowd full of bitches. And if they do, the first sign that this could go physical, they will backpedal like a motherfucker. Okay? Bitches only have courage when men are around. Alright? So she talks her shit and then walks away. I mean, bitch, please. I mean, she's not even a fully grown adult. She's just dumb as a post. I'm not really blaming her. I'm just saying. I find it hilarious.
Hate free speech. These are the guys that hate free speech. Hate free speech. This is what the faces look like, guys.
Oh, that live stream suck chant was pretty damn funny. His live stream kind of did suck. Anyway, so I fast forward to the other section of this video I'm going to cover briefly, and he comes across a group of police standing next to each other. I'm just going to go over quick what he says. There's a ton of them.
But all these other tyrant gang... You guys have matching uniforms, tattoos, matching patches. What gang are you with?
Oh, that's kind of funny.
What gang are you with, guys? I should ask for names and badge numbers. How many do you think will ID under the law, under the statute? Let's find out. What's your name and badge number, officer? Chapter 41, subsection 98D. What's your badge number, officer?
Go home, buddy.
Your name's Officer Go Home, buddy? Okay, we got his name. He identified.
See? Like, you can't, I mean, it's not jury friendly to just walk up to officers and be like, hey, what's your name and badge number, when you have no interaction with them whatsoever. So, maybe scoring funny points, but not legit effective points.
Officer, what's your name and badge number?
Speak to the supervisors.
Your name is go speak to the supervisors? Okay. Is anyone willing to identify themselves today with their name and badge number under the law?
Under the law? What are you relying on their law?
No? Well, you know what, guys? I'm surprised they're not beating you. Because if you're not on their side and you're just standing around being neutral, you're a Nazi. I knew you were tyrants. I didn't know you were a Nazi. The world knows now, pig.
God. So just for no reason, when he's being ignored, you call him tyrants and a pig. I mean, that's not jury friendly, right? If you're gonna do it, there has to be a jury friendly reason for it. Otherwise, you're just lessening your own protection, right? If one of them gets pissed and decides, fuck this guy, let's take him to jail, let's find a reason. It's because you're not jury friendly, just letting you know. Alright, so I'm gonna call that here. I think I've got the juice out of this video. I'm gonna move on to the next. By the way, some of you are wondering why you're doing the chipmunk voice. Okay, so I'm releasing these videos on my Leon Valley lawsuit channel, right, which is Ferocious Philosophy. And that YouTube channel is named specifically in court and police documentation regarding said lawsuit. Therefore, potential jurors or jury members might come across my channel, look it up, even though they're probably told not to, and listen to my stuff. And obviously, I'm criticizing the hell out of the state and state agents and people who use violence with the American flag on their shoulder. And most jury members are statists, right? They become jury members by registering to vote, so they are okay with legitimizing the current system and not realizing that no matter who you vote for, government still wins. So when they come across this video and I'm talking crap about their beloved USA, hey, if it's in a chipmunk voice, how seriously can they take me? Because ultimately, keep in mind, I'm all about the laughter and the mockery. I don't hate police. I laugh at them because they're hilarious. Alright, so it's not hate speech. It's just calling out exactly what they do for what it is outside of the propaganda. Woo-woo words. That's it. I'm out.